The online left, while not nearly as egregious as the right, is not immune to the dangers of spreading misinformation on accident because of not fully investigating a certain issue before giving your thoughts on it. It's very common to see like a Twitter headline that gives off a certain, idea, and then you quote tweet that Twitter headline, you have your opinion of it, and then, it turns out that maybe when you read past the headline of that article, it doesn't say exactly what you thought it says. It's happened. And it's happened to lefties before. It's where the whole ironic lefty misinfo meme comes from. The reason why lefty misinfo is a meme is because generally it seems like people on the left spread a lot less misinfo than the right does, mostly because the right basically markets entirely in misinformation, while the left typically has reality tends to have a more left-leaning bias. With that said, though, I don't know if this is a case of that. I've been hearing a lot of conflicting reports about this Earn It Act that I've been hearing about. I don't really know exactly what it's supposed to be because I've been hearing from some people that it's meant to prevent child sexual assault material from being spread online. And I'm hearing from some people that it could effectively erase all ability for LGBT movements to engage in any advice or advocacy towards LGBT youth. It could be that those are the two different things it could be that I've heard that it is. All right. I have no fucking clue which it is yet. And frankly, I don't feel comfortable giving my opinion on it until we've read the CNN article about it and find out what the fuck it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and check this thing out. Oh, and if you want an example of this happening recently, the Dave Chappelle thing. Bunch of people spread that clip of Dave Chappelle around, making it look like Dave Chappelle is like anti-affordable housing or whatever. Turns out the bill that he was opposing had a lot more going on with it that would be bad for the people in that area than people made it out to be. It's because it's because Dave Chappelle, it's popular on the left to not like him. And what he said, if you don't look into it, sounds very sounds very classist towards poor people. And so everybody saw what they wanted to see. Everyone saw what they wanted to see. It's a thing that happens. You got to look out for that kind of stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and read this article. Let's engage in some responsible messaging, huh? A controversial bill to protect kids online just advanced in the Senate. Here's what you should know. By Brian Fung of CNN. A controversial bill targeting how tech platforms and websites handle child sexual abuse material. Hey, I like that they're calling it CSAM. Hey, guys, we're popularizing it, okay? I am fully on board with the movement of abolishing the term child porn, okay? The term child porn sort of inherently suggests consent. The word porn specifically kind of suggests consent. Child sexual abuse material or child sexual assault material is a way more accurate and I think just generally more effective word for it, I think. A little more tasteful, too, I think. Child sexual abuse material cleared a key hurdle on Thursday as a Senate panel voted to approve the legislation despite vocal objections from civil rights groups who say the proposal is as written will backfire and harm all internet users. So yes, this bill is most likely going to pass. This bill is more or less, or I don't know if it's going to pass, but it seems like it's doing well so far. Like it's not had to go through too many hurdles yet. Like it's not getting as much pushback as I think many people who are against it would like it to. The legislation known as the Earn It Act of 2022 has reignited the debate over tech platforms' legal protections under federal law. It comes as U.S. lawmakers have increasingly pushed to amend Section 230 of the Communications Act of 1934, which tech platforms have cited for years to duck lawsuits over the user-created content they host on their websites. By narrowing Section 230's scope, the latest bill seeks to create more legal exposure for companies that fail to do enough to remove child sexual abuse material, CSAM. Tech platforms can already face criminal prosecution at the federal level for knowingly facilitating the spread of child pornography. Okay, I guess we're using it here now, though. But the legislation goes further, making it possible for states to bring civil and criminal suits on the matter, too. The bill also seeks to establish a commission led by federal law enforcement charged with publishing voluntary best practices for tech platforms on how they may, as the bill's name implies, earn their liability protections. Our goal is to tell the social media companies, get involved and stop this crap, and if you don't take responsibility for what's on your platform, then Section 230 will not be there for you, Senator Lindsey Graham, a co-author of the bill, said during Thursday's committee meeting. Senator Richard Blumenthal, another co-author, said that in drafting the bill, the Senate Judiciary Committee heard about numerous examples of platforms, including Twitter and Reddit, that allegedly did not act to remove child pornography despite being notified about about it. Twitter declined to comment. A Reddit spokesperson said the company relies on human reviewers and automated tools to detect CSAM and removes any material it finds, as well as the users who post it from the platform. Blumenthal also said the bill is backed by 250 law enforcement, child protection, and government organizations. But critics of the legislation say that the standard for that, or for what is considered enough enforcement, is ambiguous in the bill and opens the door to vast overreach by federal and state governments, internet censorship, and the undermining of encryption technology that is essential for protecting everything from consumer email accounts to sensitive business and military secrets. The goal for the proposed legislation. The Internet Act is part of a broader bipartisan push to rein in tech platforms, joining a slew of bills related to antitrust policy, content moderation, or other issues. On Thursday, the Internet Act sailed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee with unanimous support. Its next stop is the Senate floor. Though several senators on the panel expressed reservations about the certain provisions. Proponents of the bill say it is meant to give victims of digital pornography who may have had sexually explicit videos of themselves as minors shared without consent on social media a day in court. Blumenthal said the legislation gives victims access to our justice system so that they can create an incentive for these companies to do the right thing. He acknowledged that there is some controversy surrounding the proposal, but urged his fellow senators to imagine for a moment the most unspeakable, despicable violation of your physical being, repeated thousands of times on the internet for millions of strangers to see with sadistic pleasure, following you through your whole life. For many of the bill's opponents, however, the Internet Act is a reminder of how Congress botched its last attempt to use Section 230 as a cudgel against sex crimes. A history of unintended consequences. In 2018, President Donald Trump signed a bill known as SESTA/FOSTA, which created new ways under Section 230 for websites to be sued if their users created ads for online prostitution. While the law was meant to prevent sex trafficking, numerous reports have highlighted its unintended consequences, driving sex work further underground and making it more dangerous, according to sex workers themselves. A Government Accountability Office report from 2021 found that since its passage, the law has only been invoked once, raising questions about its actual utility. A similar effect could occur with the Internet Act, critics say. A letter Tuesday by dozens of groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, Human Rights Campaign, and the Wikipedia Foundation, the organization behind Wikipedia, said the bill could actually result in a lack of accountability for people spreading CSAM online. If a state law forces websites to monitor or filter their users' content so it can be turned over to the government for criminal prosecution, the provider becomes an agent of the government, and any CSAM it finds could become the fruit of an unconstitutional warrantless search, the letter said. That would render the evidence inadmissible in court, they said, defeating the bill's purpose and letting abusers go free. Oh, shit. I guess by this law, that is true. By that logic, it would be true. By that logic, YouTube and Twitter and all these platforms would be engaging in sting ops. This would essentially make these companies like arms of the government when it comes to dealing with this problem, which, unless other precautions are made, like the police don't do think about this, like sting ops for child like pedophiles. Did you guys know that Chris Hansen's show, the one where like the To Catch a Predator thing, they never reached out and contacted the pedophiles in question? Do you guys know that? All they did was make a fake catfish account and join a live chat room where the account is publicly a minor, and they wait for someone to just come and initiate contact. That's how they always did it, because the police aren't allowed to entrap people. The police aren't allowed to try to aren't allowed to try to goad you into committing a crime and then arrest you for it. You have to, out of your own volition, go out of your way to do a crime without any possible nudging from any law enforcement entities, right? So sting operations are still allowed. You're still allowed to have an undercover cop, go and do a drug bust, right? But you're not allowed to have an undercover cop who does a drug bust go up to a guy on the street and say, "Hey man, want to buy some weed?" And the guy's like, "No, thank you. I don't want to buy any weed." He's like, "No, man, want to buy some? Come on, buy some weed." Getting in his face and literally pushing him into buying some weed and then arresting him when he does. That would be illegal because that's entrapment. But yeah, that's actually a really interesting concern to bring up. It's actually a very interesting concern. Senator Mike Lee appeared to share some of the same hesitations with the bill in its current form. I'm a little concerned that the current language inadvertently mandates interactive computer services to do for the government what the government itself is prohibited from doing, he said, which is engaging in the open-ended policing, the accessing and then recording of private and protected data without the protections of the law. How the bill would change enforcement. Federal law already requires businesses to report CSAM when they find it. In 2020, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said it received 20 million such reports from Facebook, more than 500,000 from Google, and more than 96,000 from Microsoft. Under current law, however, the platforms are not obligated to go searching for CSAM. Their obligations begin only when they become aware of it. This is where the Earn It Act's broad provisions on state authority come in. The bill gives state attorneys general, for the first time, the authority to bring civil or criminal lawsuits against websites and tech platforms regarding the advertisement, promotion, presentation, distribution, or solicitation of child sexual abuse material. The legislation leaves it up to individual states to set the legal standard by which websites may be judged, an issue that Lee said should raise concerns. Uh-oh, this is not good. Leaving it up to states what they consider to break the rules and not, and to what degree that they want to what standard they want to judge it. Do you think Texas politicians aren't going to just label any content that is pro-LGBT as breaking the rules here? Oh God. Texas is trying to ban Martin Luther King and Ruby Bridges from schools as we speak. Okay, you think they're not going to try to use this to ban any pro-gay content from the internet there? Holy fuck. That's a scary thought. If a state, let's say New York, enacted a law saying that any interactive computer service doesn't remove CSAM within 1 hour of it being posted is liable for damages up to $1 million, a church with that type of interactive website could be strictly liable under the New York law, Lee said, adding that similar companies might be crushed under a patchwork quilt of state laws. Wait, what? Wait, a church? Why is it bringing up a church here? The real concern here is, let's say let's say a state. Here's a better concern. I don't know who said this again? Who's this quote from? If a state, let's say New York, enacted a law saying that any interactive computer service doesn't remove CSAM within 1 hour of it being posted is liable for damages up to $1 million, any company, Twitter would be gone in a day. Twitter would be gone in a fucking day. Okay? Listen, the amount of CSAM that's on Twitter that gets reported every day that takes hours to get banned because Twitter has so much stuff they have to review. Logistically, it just wouldn't be possible. Twitter would be sued into oblivion in a day. That or the lawsuits just wouldn't hold up in court because the logistics of how could we possibly within an hour get this all taken down and reported? We have a completely our report system relies on reports from other people. It's not even possible. States could also seek to use other legal standards, such as recklessness or negligence, further lowering the bar for litigation, Lee said. Blumenthal responded that is a feature of the bill, not a bug. As a former state attorney general, he said, I welcome states using that flexibility, and I would be loath to straitjacket them in their adoption of different standards. Why it's controversial? The Earn It Act has also faced controversy and its implications of encryption. The technology used by email providers, messaging apps, banks, and cloud storage companies, and the government itself to protect sensitive data. The issue has created some strange bedfellows, as digital rights groups that have vocally opposed big tech have aligned with technology industry groups to warn that the Earn It Act could have unintended consequences for digital security. Law enforcement groups have long argued that encryption makes it easier for criminals to hide their illegal activity, and that tech platforms have a responsibility to cooperate with police to enable access to that data. Technology groups have strongly opposed those calls, saying a move to give even select access to encrypted communications would allow criminals and foreign adversaries to discover how to crack all encryption because all encryption operates in the same principles no matter the context. In response to concerns that the Earn It Act could allow government officials to ban encryption, the bill's co-authors added in a provision that prohibits encryption from being used as the sole justification for CSAM lawsuits. But that won't be enough. The civil society groups wrote in their Tuesday letter a platform's support for encryption could easily be cited in a lawsuit in a guilt by association manner, with its mere existence serving a suggestive evidence of a website's wrongdoing. And that the group said, will serve as a strong disincentive to deploying encrypted services in the first place. Beyond the potential blowback to consumers, enterprisers and national security civil rights advocates say a chilling of encryption will likely endanger those the bill is meant to help by eliminating secure ways for victims and marginalized groups to confide in trusted allies. But Blumenthal dismissed the concerns Tuesday as a gigantic red herring. Big tech and their armies of lobbyists and allies have sought to make this an issue of encryption, he said. It's not about encryption. You can tell this is being pushed pretty hard by Republicans. What's next? With the bill bound for the Senate floor and still subject to revisions, there is a long way to go before the EARN Act becomes law. But its passage out of the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday shows that the bill continues to enjoy bipartisan support, even despite the wide-ranging criticisms. Opponents of the bill have sought to mount a massive campaign to defeat it, with activist group Fight for the Future saying Tuesday it had marshaled 600,000 supporters to contact lawmakers on the issue. Blumenthal is a Democrat? Oh, really? Interesting. With all that said, it does seem like there are some real concerns to have about this EARN Act, okay? It seems like the desires of this act are not born out of the same desires that Trump's FOSTA and SESTA Act had, or that like the desire to end net neutrality had, or whatever. This seems like it might actually be a genuine bill that's trying to hold these platforms accountable for the amount of child sexual assault material being hosted on them. Because let's be real here, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, I'm sure as well. I wouldn't be surprised if all of these platforms are absolutely fucking infested with child porn, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if there is CSAM all over these fucking platforms that just are so relegated to such small corners of these platforms that you never even hear about it. Much of the time, I'm sure it's so niche and so relegated to these corners of the internet that the law, nor do the moderation of these websites, most of the time probably never end up hearing about it, or at least don't end up hearing about it until long after it's been hosted for a while and seen by a ton of people. And that is a real concern to have. And I do think maybe lighting a fire into the asses of websites like especially Twitter to make it easier to report and get rid of child sexual assault material on their platforms, I think it's a good thing. And I really do, at least in text, agree with a lot of this bill. However, I am concerned about, private platforms having this level of legal, government overreach done upon them. Because this is, in many respects, could be considered government overreach. In many cases, this would be considered, it would be like, so legally, here in America, to be found guilty of committing a crime, the evidence that the prosecution gathers legally has to be obtained in a certain way, right? Cops aren't allowed to break into your house in the middle of the night while they're off duty, grab the murder weapon that you have stored in your drawer, and then bring that to the station and say, hey, I got the murder weapon, I got John Smith's murder. That's not allowed to happen. You're not allowed to do that, okay? There's certain evidence that just isn't admissible in court for a variety of reasons. It could be hearsay. It could be the way the evidence was gathered, if it was unlawful. Generally, if you're going to search someone's place, you got to get a warrant, okay? The problem is, and the same thing goes for searching somebody's phone right now. If somebody let's say I accuse Nick Fuentes of having child porn on his phone, okay? The police can't then go and just take his phone and search it. The police would have to get a search warrant for his phone to look inside of it and everything. That is how it would be done legally, right? And any evidence not found through that would probably be, and then of course there are no-knock warrants, I think, as well, or if that's a thing. But there are certain barriers that evidence has to go upon, right? And if these platforms are legally required by the government to hand over that evidence immediately, essentially you could argue that that these platforms have become a hand of the government in that respect, and then Twitter would need a warrant just to provide that information to the government, or it would be unlawful. You could actually make that argument. This was the cost of losing net neutrality. What was this? Verizon violates net neutrality, throttles California Fire Department amid statewide disaster. Holy shit. Wait, really? Oh my God. I'll have to check that out later. Thank you for sending me that Humanist Report thingy. Basically it's a video by the Humanist Report talking about Verizon violating net neutrality and throttling the California Fire Department amid a statewide disaster during all those wildfires. Fuck. Makes sense. Okay, guess they did do what they were going to do. Okay, Like, that's funny though, because when you look at like the worry that you saw online about the net neutrality getting revoked, it was all about how like memes are going to go extinct and YouTube is going to go away and whatever, when in reality how it ended up getting used is like corporations using it to uphold their monopolies, you know. Just corporations using the non-existence of net neutrality anymore to uphold their monopolies. Because, you know, YouTubers, when they talk about stuff like this, overblow it like crazy. I'm really, like I said, I don't want to end up overblowing this thing, which is why I'm being so, you know, chill with my messaging about it. I feel like I've given you all the information you guys need to form your own opinion. I'm just going to go ahead and say, reading through all of this, I'm not sure if I'm too into it. It seems like it could lead to some pretty dangerous places. As big as I am in favor of some of the things this bill would do, I am concerned about where it could lead. I am pretty concerned about where it could lead. I am. Net neutrality wasn't overblown. Well, I mean, overblown in a different sense, right? Like, it wasn't overblown in its importance. It was overblown as in, like, people said it's going to make memes extinct and YouTube's going to, like, not work anymore. Like, they're just going to throttle YouTube into nothing. It was their criticisms were these really shallow, childish, like, conceptions of what would happen, what these corporations would do without net neutrality, rather than, like, what they would actually do, a realistic view, which is they're going to use it to uphold their monopolies, you know, and to make more money, right? No one said that. Tons of people said it, Lonnie. I spent that whole era of the internet just binge watching videos about it because I was so freaked out about it. I think the Patriot Act is underblown. True. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, ringing the bell icon, following my social media. You guys know what to do. It's all linked down below. And of course, if you want to support me financially to actually like really help out the channel for real, you guys can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub over on my website, xanderhall.com/live. Support me over on YouTube, Twitch, through Streamlabs in the form of a media share or a TTS donation. Or if you're super based, you can buy some merch, linked down below, or even pledge me on Patreon. With all that said, thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you guys again later. Have a good one.